What's up everybody, this is DeanoGTO, and today we're looking at some gameplay from War 9, and this is in the AMX 30. So, this is a subscriber replay, as you can probably guess because I mentioned that it was from War 9, and it's an interesting game in the AMX 30. So the AMX 30, if you didn't know, a while ago this thing was changed drastically, because for a long time this thing was essentially just a slightly better Leo PTA, because if you know, Leo PTA is probably considered, even now, to be one of the worst tier 9 mediums in the game, and this thing was just always better than it. And with the changes they made to this line, to the MX-30B line, well, they've kind of made that gap even more apparent, because, well, the MX-30 prototype, this thing here, is just substantially better than the MX, or than the Leo PTA, sorry, because like, you really don't notice the accuracy on the Leo PTA, and it doesn't seem to matter much that the MX-30 prototype has slightly worse accuracy, because I think it has either 0.37 or 0.38 accuracy on this 105mm gun, meanwhile it has an incredible reload rate for a 105mm gun at this tier. And he's going to fire a couple shots in the assist here, VS1. The second shot, he gets trolled alive and low rolls by about 50 points of damage. I mean, come on. Like, that was probably like a 2 in 10 chance he would load that roll that low, and of course it just happened to land on the number to roll that low. It doesn't make any sense at all. And MX-30 on the enemy team, for some reason, firing heat rounds. I really do not know why. Like, there's really nothing on this flank that you would need heat rounds to deal with, and there's nothing on the in fact, honestly, the only tank I can really think of on the team that you would need heat rounds for would be maybe the M6E2E1 and the Type 4 Heavy. Gets shot into the enemy MX-30, gets another heat shot into the turret of the of War 9's MX-30 here, and well, that's kind of annoying because he did lose about half of his health to that enemy MX-30 just from him firing heat rounds into the turret. So that's kind of unfortunate, but there's really not much you could really do about that there, because like, I don't know, people just seem to fire heat rounds just with no real thought these days. I don't know why, like, people just seem to fire heat rounds continuously. In the T92, he's going to focus on the T92, which I honestly think is probably a pretty good call, because some people would probably say that you should go for the T54 first because he's the more dangerous tank overall. However, on this map, I think going for the T82 was the right move, because the T82 has the mobility and he also has the view range to be a real threat later in the game. T54 has those same attributes but to a lesser degree. And I just got to point that little moment out there. So he fired at the second shot into that T54 and you notice that it bounced off. So I reckon War 9 probably knows about this here, but just in case you didn't, if you didn't know, below the turret, directly where the turret actually is, there's a bulge in the hull where the turret ring is that you can shoot whenever T-54 is side scraping. It's roughly in this general area right here, and you can fire into that zone there whenever T-54 is side scraping and penetrate with ease there. Like, just whenever you can't penetrate the 80mm side armor, whenever it's side scraping anywhere else, you can penetrate it sometimes in that general area there. So just figured to make you aware of that there. And he gets really unlucky here and gets hit by the low on the enemy team, who I think was probably aiming for the E50, but RNG just managed to hit War 9 instead. So he's going to head back towards his base here, and he's going to take the long way around just to avoid getting shot at anymore, because he really does not have much health. He only has 560 health, and that is a high roll for the Mausian, and it's an easy one shot for the Type 4, depending on the gun he's using, of course. Because like 140, easy one shot, with the 150, easy one shot, because of the armor this tank has, and with the 127, that's the only gun where Type 4 really couldn't one shot him. So yeah, let's see. So he's going to hang out here for a little while, essentially just spotting, looking towards the mid-ridge, and I think this is because he was potentially anticipating some people heading down into the gorge. And something I should just point out, like, if you want to like rewind the video a little bit, I'm not going to rewind it to the replay at the moment because it like messes with the recording. But if you want to rewind the replay a bit, there's actually a section up here where you see like there's like 4 friendly tanks up here, and you just see about 5 enemy tanks, or no, about like six or 7 enemy tanks just appear around these guys and just engulf them like in just a complete another just like surround and just devastate maneuver. It was just a pincer maneuver. That's the word I was looking for. And they just eradicate the friendly vehicles that are up in the northwest. So they just get destroyed. And now the base is actually under like a real threat. So the Scorpion G is kind of hanging out near the back, as you'd expect. And I honestly think the reason why these guys all got just overwhelmed by these guys just going around in a pincer maneuver is because there was no one here. Usually you do see tank destroyers hanging out in this general location here, but I don't think there was in this game. I may have missed somebody though, so I may have done that. And so the Defender and the M4 Rev are heading down towards the base, which makes sense because right now they have a commanding lead of 4 tanks. They have 4 extra tanks over the friendly team at the moment. And now we've just pulled it back 1. The E50 has killed off the M40, M43. The Scorpion G has killed off the M4 Rev, so they pulled it back to a 2 tank disadvantage. And now it's back up to a 3 tank disadvantage. Now the M103 is now rushing down the hill. He takes a shot in the side, which makes him point towards the location of War 9. And now the Scorpion G is just kind of hanging out there because the super Pershing that was initially spotting for them has just been killed by the Defender. And the Defender and the M103 are now very near the base. So the M103 initially is kind of like trying to decide like where to aim. War 9 fired a shot, finished off the M103, which I suspect potentially saved the Scorpion some health. Super Pershing is now rushing down the awkward section of the hill, which I guess was to try and like make it more difficult for enemy vehicles to shoot him. But here, make sure you pay attention to this here. Look, this is an example of how to work a bush. That's going to sound interesting out of context. Yeah, he's just working this bush absolutely perfectly. I can't really think of a better way of saying that. Because I was so weird. But yeah. Super Pershing has been destroyed, and now he's going to load a heat round because he was initially aiming at Type 4 Heavy, but the Lova is spotted and the Type 4 goes unspotted, so he's going to focus on the low, trying to get rid of him. And he doesn't switch back to premium rounds because I suspect what he would have done if the Type 4 had popped up again is he would have immediately switched fire to the Type 4, because Type 4 is the more dangerous vehicle. And something you may have noticed is the E50 is actually stock and he's using the 88 L71, so he's not even using the best 88mm gun. So the E50 really doesn't have a hope of dealing with a Type 4 Heavy in a one-on-one circumstance, so he really needs to do some damage to this Type 4 just in case he decides to rush the E50. And the Type 4 is just kind of hanging out back there for now, and War 9's pumping shots into him, and yet again, look at how he's just abusing the crap out of these bushes, so he's never ever getting spotted when he doesn't want to be spotted. And this is just like the ultimate way you really want to play a tank like this in this sort of circumstance. And Type 4 exposes the side of his turret and he gets annihilated, so that's him gone as well. So now we're at the circumstance now where it's just a low, an OHO and Maujin remaining. We don't know the health of the OHO, we don't know the health of the Maujin, but we do know the low is probably on low health. There he is there, so he is on low health right now. Low pokes out and he like tries to beat a shot, is what I think he was going for there, and War 9 just holds his fire. I think this was potentially to lull the low into his false sense of security and make him think that he could potentially push forward into the E50. But this is actually a pretty good move here, and low stops and he gets annihilated by that APCR round into the side of the low. So now it's just the OHO and the Maujin. So the OHO we know has very little health. We don't know the health of the Maujin though, and the Conqueror there in the chat just confirmed the OHO or the Maujin only has 330 health. The OHO only has 30 health. Fires a shot. That's the one circumstance in this game where I would really say the accuracy on the gun really trolled him. Really trolled War 9 here. So let's see. So now he's going to push forward here because there's only one tank remaining. Granted, it is a very heavily armored, potentially troublesome tank to deal with. And last time we saw him, he was up in the northwest. He could be anywhere at this point in time on the map, considering it's been so long since he was spotted. Yes, it's weird for me to say that Maujin could be anywhere, but it is kind of true. It's been like, I think it's been like 3 or 4 minutes since he was last spotted, so he realistically could be just about anywhere. And he's go pull forward here, trying to see if he can spot him. I think War 9 has some pretty decent view range on this tank. He has, I guess, probably coded optics on this tank, along with some view range skills, because he is definitely maxing out the view range on this tank. And he went back to heat rounds here, which makes sense because it is a Malaysian, and Malaysians, they're not as heavily armored as the Japanese heavies, but they are still pretty strong. He fires a shot into the upper armor of this tank, of the Malaysian, and that bounces it off, and the Malaysian bounces his return shot, which is 490 alpha. So the 490 alpha tells you what gun he's using, and by the way, yeah, this just proves that the E50 was stock. That's the idiot L71 gun. It's not the ridiculous clown gun. Also, he has the stock turret. You can tell because it doesn't have the little back area here, and also the health pool of the tank is 100 lower than normal. So the Malaysian has ducked down under the bridge now, so he's kind of like a bridge troll. He only has 58 health remaining, so the E50 I think must have penned him. I didn't actually say that, or maybe it was the Scorpion, I don't know. But War 9 pulls forward, gets the side, he rounds straight in the side, potentially unnecessary, but doesn't really matter, and that finishes the game off right there. So, unlike the enemy, I made it so far without bossing up. I made it so far, but yeah, I'm so close now, and I'm just going to ignore that. But yeah, that was an example of how to use heat rounds effectively. Like the situation where he did use the heat rounds versus that Type 4. If you think about it, there really would have been nothing he could do to that Type 4 if he had been in this circumstance with nothing but APCR, because the APCR, unlike most tier 10 APCR rounds on 105mm guns, this one only has 248 pen rather than the standard like 268 or maybe 270. So yeah, and also don't forget he didn't know where the Malaysian was, so the Malaysian could have been hanging out over here, so he couldn't realistically just go up and around here. That would have been a very, very risky maneuver because if he got caught out in the open by the Type 4 or any of the other tanks, then he could have potentially gotten wrecked there. So yeah, I think that was a pretty good use of premium rounds there, and I think that was a pretty interesting game. Okay, so these are the post-game stats. This game was worth an ace tanker, high caliber, top gun, 55,429 credits, 1,404 base XP, and that taking into account the Christmas bonuses and the premium count, which I think are affecting the totals of these result screens. As for the team scores, top of the team with ease by about 390 base XP, 6,125 damage done overall, 6 kills, and he must have hit a couple of shots that were fired blind, because I think we only saw like 5600, 5800 in the actual gameplay itself, so 1 or 2 shots must have hit when he fired them blind. As for like the rest of his team, the Conqueror and the Type 4 had pretty solid impacts in this game, especially considering they died in the Northwest like about a third of the way through the game, I would say. So well done to these guys for doing that. As for the E50 I thought he would have gotten a lot of spotting damage. However, he only got like 750. He really didn't get much. And meanwhile, like War 9 ended up with about 1,350. So War 9's view range must have been a lot better than I was giving it credit for in that game. As for the enemy team, the Object 252s never fail to amaze me, like 3,000, nearly 4,000 damage, 5 kills, and 832 base XP in a tier 8 premium in a tier 9 game. And second place was the Malaysian, who looks, his game doesn't even look good in comparison to that Object 252, which is just a monster. I mean, come on. But as a wargame would probably say, balanced come rate. So 24 shots fired, 24 direct hits, so every shot he fired in this game did hit an enemy tank. 19 penetrations, so pretty good ratio in that regard. 4,600 of the 6,100 he did in this game was from beyond 300 meters. 640 damage blocked by armor. That was, I think, 1 shot from the Malaysian and 1 shot from the 1082. As for damage due to the player's assistance, yeah, you can see that there. He got about 600 more than that E50, even though he was sitting way further back. I don't know how exactly that works, but yes, why not, I guess. So, as for like the other stats, 55,429 credits prior to any like bonuses. He would have lost 20k on this game because he fired every premium round he carried in the tank. And yeah, 1,044 base XP, but here you can see like the difference that the Christmas bonuses and the premium can't make to the income and stuff. So in summary, that was a really good game to watch, and it makes me really want to get one of these vehicles. It just looks like such a powerful vehicle at tier 9, and tier 9 just in general has a lot of great tanks, but this one looks like a really powerful, really good one. So yeah, thanks very much to War9 for sending this in so I could just see some gameplay of this thing, like for myself, because I've actually really never seen any games of this thing really featured. At least not recently. Like last game I remember seeing of this thing was years ago. Like I haven't seen it on any YouTubers channels in a long time. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of the AMX30 and the Batchat 12T. Do you guys think they're good? Do you guys think they're bad? Do you think the AMX30 is worth going through the Batchat 12T for? So yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of that there, and what you guys think of this game overall. And any feedback you have for me is always appreciated, like things I could change on the channel, things like that there. So yeah, thanks for watching. Leave your comments in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one.